Hello visuals, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Superhero Wednesday, the day of the week where we like to get right down and nerdy, and we like to just talk about and explore and look at and flex things that we love in this beautiful little nerdy world of ours. Or, more specifically, this week's Superhero Wednesday is all about films and my 10 favourite films of all time, and I'm just going to quickly say, what a fucking stressful list this was to make. So much about me and Chris and the channel. Movies are like one of my biggest things in the time. Well, I adore football. I adore the world of Pokemon and comic books and stuff. And movies, the cinema is the cinema is my home away from home. I adore cinema, whether I'm watching a very terrible film or a cinematic masterpiece, a punch up with some Decepticons and Autobots, or an arty sort of dartsy performance like Killers of the Flower Moon, whatever it is that we might be watching. I just love films and I love storytelling. So I thought we would do my 10 favourite films of all time, and this list took me fucking hours to make. There's some films on there that automatically made it, but there's someone that I had to like chop and change, and I put that on there. I thought, no, because I love this one. And I will quickly say, these are my 10 favourite films. It doesn't mean that they're the best films of all time. They might not be even some of the most popular films of all time. It's just my personal favourite. You'll have to let me know yours in the comments below, or if you like any of the films on my top 10, or if any of these films are on your top 10. Some of them are just nostalgic and they just hit hard for us, but oh boy, this was a hard list to make. Because I can probably see me rambling on for a good while about some of these films. Let's just get straight into the list and actually start talking about some of the films. We'll start talking about all the films that are on it and the reasons why they're on it. So here we go, visuals. My 10 favourite films of all time. 10, I have to include it. It is Pokemon, the first movie. Now, again, I know that, you know, historically or critically, it might not be the best thing ever, but it was one of them films, right? It come out, we watched it, I went to the cinema and stuff, and because I wasn't overly used to watching like good guys in like the good guys, not, I know the good guys win at the end, but like mega bad stuff happening to them, because I was reading comics and watching stuff, and there might have been a little things happening, but like seeing this character I love, Ash Ketchum, like die for a split second, get turned to stone, it absolutely crippled me, and it just broke me down, and I was thinking, what the fuck's going on? Is Ash dead? We're not going to, what's going on? And seeing all the Pokemon tears bring her back and whatnot. But because Pokemon is such a massive part of my life, I adore the world of Pokemon. I adore everything there is Pokemon, from the cards to the games to the films, the anime and stuff. It just has a nice place inside. Watching it being reimagined and reanimated on Netflix a few years back was so much fun. But I just go back and look at a part of history, my history. When this film was coming out, it was in the middle of like Pokemon Mania, when everybody was all loving Pokemon, and seeing the old artwork cards for it, seeing the old movie posters, being sat at the cinema with my snacks. I can remember now getting my free promo card at the counter and shit. It just has a nice place in here where I look back on it with fond memories, and branching out from the normal anime and going on this crazy wacky adventure of fully exploring who Mewtwo is and what Mew is, and the story of Cinnabar Island and the genetic process of cloning Mew and making Mewtwo and the massive Dragonite and all that kind. It's just, it had so much about it, and like I said, I go back now and I look at it with fond memories. I constantly rewatch it. It's a nice film to put on when I want some background noise, whether I'm getting stuff ready for a video or I'm doing some doodling, whatever I'm doing. I just chuck the Pokemon the first movie on, and it's just great. It's all full of the OGs, the OG starters, seeing these people with their crazy teams, like the people that rock up, he's got like a Gyarados, Nidoqueen, all that stuff, seeing Ash rock up with his team, then seeing all the clones of it and stuff. It's just a phenomenal film for a Pokemon fan, I think. 9 is American Pie. Just like Pokemon, there's a lot of people that know me know that I have constant rewatches. There's always like a, I don't know how to explain it. I find myself sometimes in a cozy little bubble of just replaying, you know, Pokemon Red or whatever, and I'll just have my snacks with this, and I'll be like, okay, American Pie's getting put on, Scream's getting put on, Pokemon the movie, or something along them sort of lines, something late 90s, early 2000s. I just put that on. It's sort of like comfort food for my mind and my soul, as cringe and as weird as that sounds. I understand it sounds weird as fuck, but I always remember watching American Pie and feeling like a proper, like, ooh, like a naughty kid watching it, because by the time it come out, I would have been 8 or 7 or some shit like that. I definitely watched it on a VHS for the first time. obviously knowing that I wasn't supposed to watch it, knowing that I wasn't allowed, but just fall in love with the characters of Jim and Stifler, the music of Blink-182 and whatnot, and just thinking, wow, this is what I've got to look forward to growing up, hanging out with my friends, and there's got these parties and punk pop music and all that kind of stuff. It's just so much fun. Like I said, it just fills me with so much joy seeing the again, at the time, completely inappropriate for a kid to be watching, but I didn't fucking care. Seeing the stuff with Nadia getting involved, Jim, and then all that weird stuff, and Jim doing his stuff, the pie incident and whatnot, hence why it's called American Pie. This one time at band camp, and just not understanding half the shit they were going on about, but just feeling like I was this kid in awe of like, oh, this is the future. And I think it's why I've got a very American-y mindset, why I love like America, like American high school and American colleges and American parties with American fashion sense and culture and music and all that kind of stuff. It's a film that will always just be warming to me, that I'll always just, let's put American Pie on, and I'll be in a place and I just love it. Next up, it is Scream. Now, just like American Pie, watched it far too young. At one point, believe it or not, Scream used to fuck. It did freak me out, but obviously the order I got, I just thought, okay, it's fun, done. But just like many of the American Pie reasons, Scream does it as well. I go back to a place, I go back to, comfort food, like playing poker, whatever it may be, and just fall in love with this crazy, weird story of, okay, we've got American Pie, we've got the music, the fashion sense, the people talking, all this stuff, but now there's a murder mystery involved. What is going on? Oh, that's freaky. The ghost face mask and the guy with a hood being the twist at the end, be like, it's Sydney's boyfriend, and it's obviously not at the time, but it's Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, Matthew Lillard. It just blew my mind. But then certain stuff happened in the Scream film where we're breaking down rules of a horror film. Because again, at the time I'm watching this, films were like real life to me. It's like this stuff that really happened. It wasn't a director sat behind with, producers and some guy with a mic and a camera and makeup team and all that stuff. It was all real life shit. But then hearing these rules being broken down about how to survive a horror film, the rules of the first kill, who survives, I'll be back and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, what does this mean? And learning, and then when you go to Scream 2 about franchises and the sequels are never better and all this kind of stuff, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? And the fact that tone and that message still carries on when we get the franchise and shit in the speak about in the newer Scream films. But again, it's a place that takes me to a time period of my life that I just love, and I wish I could revisit the late 90s, early 2000s. I wish I could have like a bubble of that and I could just go into it and just chill and experience it all. I would love to experience that time period as a 16, 17, 18-year-old as opposed to just a little kid. But once again, a film I watched with a friend back in the day, got it on tape, put it on, we're like, here in the front row, what's your film? And I'm thinking, oh, this is really fucking freaky, and just having the time of my life. And Ghostface now has become one of my favourite, probably not top 10, but one of my favourite movie pop culture icons of all time. I fucking love Ghostface so much, as my girlfriend will tell you, or Chris will tell you. So the more Scream films we get going in the future, I will happily take. But yes, Scream number 1. Number 7 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I absolutely adore all the Guardians films. Some people say Guardians 1's amazing, 2 drops off a bit, and I think most people come back and say 3's great, but take Guardians Volume 3 outside of the MCU, because to be fair, it's not massively MCU, multiverse, whatever timeline associated. Yes, they mentioned the fantasy stuff and the Gamora, different Gamora and shit, but it's very much a film on its own. But everybody knows I get emotional and cry over certain films. Like I get teary. Like I watch Lord of the Rings. I'm like, oh, I watch Spiderman. I tear up because look at Andrew Garfield who's come back as Spider. I watch loads of shit. And I get tear up. But I don't know if I've been emotionally knocked in recent years anyway, as I have been watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm a massive hypocrite when it comes to this subject matter of, I say animal cruelty because, I'm not cruel to animals, but I don't like the idea of animals suffering and dying, but I'll happily go eat a burger. It's completely hypocritical. It makes no sense. What you want about, Dan? It's because I'm ignorant to the process. I go to Asda and get a burger. But the theme and the tone of animal cruelty to me is, I hate the whole thing. I can't stand it, which I think most people on the planet, they hate it. The idea of seeing animals suffer and whatnot. That's why fucking Optimus is a little prick, but it's because I feel bad if I shout him or tell him off, say, don't do that. I'm like, oh, I love you, son, or whatever. And then the way we got this motley crew of superhero comic book characters in their final story together, well, it's from what we can see for the foreseeable, and we have it about this history of this little raccoon that turned into Rocket, and just absolutely breaking my heart from the whole story process to the bits where, for the first time, when we see the High Evolutionary get fucked up by Rocket, it turns his gravity boost. I spoke about it loads on the channel and podcast with Chris. I don't need to go into much more detail, but seeing all that and cheering like it's Newcastle scoring a winner in a Champions League final or whatever, just thinking, yes, come on, fucking get him, and just feeling so happy and overwhelmed from the performances by Chris Pratt of when you think Rocket's died and whatnot, and the whole team, Dave Bautista's Drax being absolutely amazing, Gamora being beautiful, the heartbreaking moment between her and Star-Lord about, they'll never really be together, Nebula being amazing, Adam Warlock being hilarious, the final ending of the Guardian, shit myself. Right, I was trying to get my nephew put his head in there and it just pure shit me up. That was freaky. Where the fuck was I? But yes, Guardians and the story that we're being told there. And the final ending of hearing Redbone Come and Get Your Love, because now that is my favourite song of all time. For a good while, Star-Lord appearing on Morag, listening to Redbone doing this thing, because Guardians, I always liked them in the comics. I always thought they were fun. It was nice to go back to them, but they were never my main stuff. Then we got James Gunn's version and these live action films. I was like, oh my god, I love these. These are fucking amazing. What I've been missing this whole time. And then fall in love with them in each installment, and fall in love with them even more. And like when they did team up with the Avengers and Infinity War and Endgame stuff and stuff like that, it was just phenomenal. But the emotional weight that's in Guardians is just something that will sit with me forever. The look on Rocket's eyes, the choice of songs in this scene, but Drax dance at the end and stuff. I don't know, it's just it's heavy and hard hitting, but it's funny, and it has such a beautiful conclusion to tie up this little free story, crazy, wacky adventure we've gone on with these people, and it's just beautiful, and it is just phenomenal. So yeah, Guardians Volume 3. And it is, of course, one of probably, a couple more Spider involvements. It's Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, just to try and save time, any regular viewers of the channel know that my love of Spider-Man is the biggest. If it wasn't for Spider-Man, me reading the Spider-Man comic book all them years ago, I might not necessarily be as I am. I fell in love with comics and superheroes and stuff because of Spider-Man. And I fell in love with each version of Spider-Man, from animated stuff we saw, comic book stuff, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland being my favourite. And somebody said it ages ago online, and I completely agree with it. We've never had a bad live-action Spider-Man. Yes, Tobey Maguire had some cringy moments, and I know some people's complaints with the TASM film saying they're a bit boring. I went with a lad to see the TASM 2 film, and he said that was the Peter Parker film. And I was like, that's absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I'm here for Peter Parker as well as I am Spider-Man. And just to see all of it, sort of the years of live-action Spider-Man sort of culminating together in this one film was just fucking beautiful and epic. Absolute tears seeing Toby, absolute tears seeing Andrew, the performance played by Tom of losing May, and Jesus Christ being next to Happy at the end at May's tombstone, and everyone forgetting who he is, and him making this sacrifice to clean up his mess of everyone forgetting who he is but still remembering the Spider story, which I am going to get to a bit more later, so I won't go into too much detail now. The Spider story is, for me, the single most greatest story of boy bitten by Spider, boy gets powers of Spider, and away we go. Whether it's the story of losing Gwen against Green Goblin, or whether it's the story of some Venom symbiote shenanigans, or if it's the story of facing the actions of Uncle Ben, what he's caused, or some Sandman stuff. Whatever Spider story we're going down, it's a story that made me fall in love with storytelling in great detail. And I will admit, I am a bit biased. Well, not a bit, I'm massively biased when it comes to Spider shit. It's so hard for me to be disappointed with Spider stuff because of my love for him is just too much up there. So I do admit I am extremely biased with Spider-Man stuff, but Spider-Man No Way Home was amazing storytelling, with amazing action sequences, with amazing acting in it. Quite literally amazing from Amazing Spider-Man. And it was just a fun time seeing these, because I've grew up with all three of these Spiders now. I'm at the point, I grew up with Toby, then Andrew come in, now I'm growing up, well, more, because I will never mentally be growing up, but with Tom. And then I always go back to the look where they all land together and they finally, agree to be, Spider 1, Spider 2, Spider 3, and they have this web slinger moment, so they finally get on the same page. It just killed me, that film, and every rewatch I had of it in the cinema or at home, has just been fucking amazing. It's a phenomenal film. This was always going to be mentioned, one of these anyway. The Lord of the Rings, we're starting to talk about these now. It is Return of the King. Now, whatever order you prefer the Lord of the Rings films in, I'm not going to argue, because for me, the Lord of the Rings, right, this is where I get a little bit... contradictory, right? My favourite story of all time is the Spider story, but also coincide with it, next to it, my favourite story of all time is the story of the Lord of the Rings. I guess more specifically the Battle of the Ring, the War of the Ring, sorry, because of course there's stories that come before and after the Ring stuff. But I guess from the world of Tolkien, my ultimate story is, over the Hobbit and shit, is the War of the Ring story. And I've always got a massive, huge love for Lord of the Rings, because it was around the same time as Spiderman stuff, but it's for whatever reason, whether I'm right or wrong or not in my head, it was the first real cinema story, jaw-dropping, what's going on moment I've ever had in my life. Yes, I would have been to cinema before that to see like the likes of, Pokemons and other little films that were in and around that time, but I can't really remember some of them. But I always remember Lord of the Rings being my first ever story with jaw-dropping moments and scary moments and like, what the fuck is going on, kind of cliffhangers and shit. Because I've read the books now, but after the films. So when I think about Lord of the Rings, I think about the films first. I think the films are, I don't want to say better than the books, but for me, I will go back to the films more. The books, Tolkien, me and my girlfriend always talk about a lot how he can sometimes be a little bit boring. Still amazing and epic, but like describing a tree and shit for a bit too long. But anyway, we'll get more about like the Fellowship and the Two Towers because they are on the rest of this list. But Return of the King specifically, why it's my least favourite. But still, when I say least favourite, if my favourite's like this is it. Like, did you see that movement? There's barely anything there. It's like it only just drops down. But the Return of the King out of the three, yes, it's the ultimate conclusion of everything, and it has some of the most epic battles. But there are some minor things why it drops further down on the list. Helm's Deep, my favourite. Second favourite, maybe, battle of the entire thing. That's why it goes above it, just because of the Helm's Deep stuff. And the Fellowship, the sense of adventure and my sense of love of storytelling and my love for fantasy coming out because of the Fellowship. But Return of the King comes with some fucking phenomenal moments. The March of the Rohirrim, or the Ride, whatever you want to call it. Theoden's speech, Bernard Hill. Oh my God, what a way he fucking delivers that. The Black Gate battle sequence. Sam eventually getting Frodo up with his shoulder. I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. Aragorn being eventually crowned and whatnot. The Shelob stuff. Breaking into Cthulhu and all that kind of carry on. Oh, there's just so much in this film. Minas Tirith eventually being sieged, and like once again, I remember watching the extended edition for the first time and seeing the Wolfsbane, whatever it's called. What do they call it again? Oh, fuck knows. Going through the gates of Minas Tirith and being like, oh, and it goes, boom, switch the next DVD, be like, oh my God, no, quickly. Just everything about the Return of the King, the music, the directing, the acting, the visuals, the costumes, everything about the Lord of the Rings trilogy is just peak cinema for me. Is just unbelievably peak cinema, and I don't know if it will ever be topped. I am biased when it comes, like I said, my contradictories and my biasness will come more throughout as this list goes on. But yes, Return of the King. It is the Two Towers. We go to my favourite country in the Two Towers of Rohan. I much prefer Rohan than I do Gondor. Still love Gondor and stuff, but Rohan, Theoden, the Rohirrim, all of that green goodness is my favourite in the Two Towers. But my excitement for this film was crazy because we got the cliffhanger of the Fellowship. And again, when I watch a Fellowship, I had no idea there was two more films. Did I go with my dad or my... I feel like I went with my dad. They would have known. But I had no idea, so I get to Fellowship, so we get to Two Towers, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to find out everything that's happened. I'm like, okay, what's happened with Frodo and Sam? What's happened with Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli chasing down the Uruk-hais that have took Merry and Pippin? Will there be any ramifications of the death of Boromir? Gandalf, what's happened to Gandalf? He's dead, how are we going to live without Gandalf? Gandalf the White's back, what the fuck's going on? But we get to one of my favourite cinematic moments of all time, and we get to Helm's Deep. And we see the 10,000 Uruk-hai strong coming and getting towards, and then we get that beautiful shot, of course, filmed at night. The Peter Jackson and all of them people that worked on the films, changing how people film at night and stuff. we get to that scene and we see Theoden, and so it begins. And we see, but before that, we get the silence and this weird calmness, the calm before the storm, and then the raindrops hitting on the armour of the Rohan soldiers and the Uruk-hai and whatnot below, and Gimli and Legolas having their conversation, Aragorn looking around, sort of being ready, the elves behind and whatnot. And we just get this amazing jaw-dropping battle. I want to say it is my favourite battle of all time, but there's another battle which we're going to speak about soon, which we're going to get to. It's definitely second, but something in my head wants to push it to number one. But then we get the Uruk-hai Berserker blowing up the warning. And again, me being a young boy thinking in the cinema, like, what the fuck? What's going on? No, the Uruk-hai are broken in. Aragorn, please don't die. Because again, I didn't know how Aragorn's story ended. I didn't know eventually there'll be another film he's going to be crowned king. I had no idea. But we see that happen. We see many elves fall. We see many men fall. We see, oh my god. But then obviously Gandalf returns with Éomer and stuff. We see the conclusion of what happened to him in the Balrog. We see Saruman be defeated and Isengard being taken over by the Ents. We just see this amazing story unfold. Sam's speech towards the end of the film after they've been released by Faramir, and Sam's talking about, a story about Frodo, and I want to hear more about Sam and all that. We see the little twisted turn of Gollum being like, okay, I'm going to lead him down the fucking tunnel, get the spider, get them and shit like that. We see so much more epicness. And again, me being still, I don't want to say blue balls because I was only a young kid and I don't even know if I'd experienced that shit yet, but like being like full of angst up energy of like, oh, I need this conclusion of the Fellowship, and getting there and being like, oh, my mind still being blown. I used to remember being in secondary school, especially year 7, going up to like people like, and anybody be like, have you watched Lord of the Rings? Do you like Lord of the Rings? And a lot of them look at me like, I've never spoke to you before. Like, do you like Lord of, just being fucking full on obsessed and of playing the Warhammer Lord of the Rings game and shit. The Two Towers is just a phenomenal film. Legolas going down the stairs with his shield and shit. It's just great as fuck. Number 3 is The Fellowship of the Ring. Yes, my favourite out of the 3. Why do I love this one the most out of it? Well, like I said, I feel like it is my earliest memory of in-depth storytelling on the big screen, and me being lost fully. Yes, I was lost with other stuff, like I said, Pokemon, all that shit, but being fully lost in these characters. And when we get into the end, and like, it ends with Frodo and Sam that looking over at me being like, how can it end there? What's going to happen next? And just losing my mind. But fantasy being fully opened up for me at this point of wizards and trolls and goblins and orcs and, magic and darkness and knights and all that kind of stuff. Just being awoken to it all. That's why I think I unfairly criticise Game of Thrones. I'm not a huge Game of Thrones lover. I love the House of Dragon stuff, but I'm not big on Game of Thrones. I think it's because I unfairly have Lord of the Rings fantasy stuff in my head, and for me that's peak. Personally, like I said, for somebody else it might be different, but for me it's peak. When other fantasy stuff comes up, I'm always like, oh, it's nothing on Lord of the Rings. And it's a bit stubborn and it's a bit arrogant of me to just do that. It's not fair on other fantasy works. So I already cancelled Game of Thrones in my head just because of my love of Lord of the Rings. But the sense of true adventure in this, the shots of the Fellowship after they've been formed, going through Moria and stuff, having their battle, at Balin's tomb and shit like that, forming at Rivendell, and you have my axe and all that sort of stuff, Boromir falling. Now I speak about the battles, I say about Helm's Deep. This is the other battle, the Battle of Amon Hen. Oh my god, I love it so much. Yes, it's definitely not as epic and it's definitely not as big and hardcore as Helm's Deep, but there's something about it. Seeing seeing Sting turn to blue, Aragorn being like, get away, after we've just had all that crazy shit with, offering the ring to Aragorn, Boromir trying to take it, and then Aragorn going against that horde of Uruk-hai with Lurtz being in there and fending them off so well. And as we're going through Amon hearing, the Horn of Gondor, and the camera's going down, we see Uruk-hai marching, we see Merry Pippin trying to do their shit, Boromir being an absolute beast and fending off so many Uruk-hai until Lurtz eventually takes him down. Oh, just what the fuck's going on? Boromir dies, and then at the very end, Aragorn letting Frodo and Sam go, and he's saying, to Legolas and Gimli, let's hunt some orc after we're not going to leave Merry and Pippin to suffer. And they chase them away at the end and just be like, oh, where are we going here? What's going on? And I think at the time, I can remember feeling like I'd been in the cinema for 5 minutes, thinking we've still got ages left, and not realising we're so close to the final mark. At the time of recording, I'm going back to the cinema to watch the extended edition Fellowship. The first time two of my mates have watched it. I think two of them, one definitely, the other one might have watched it. But the first time they've done it at the cinema for so long, and I don't know how well they're going to take it. Hopefully they love it, but I'm just going to be lost in the cinema experience of the extended edition in the cinema, listening to all of this Lord of the Rings. Oh my fucking God. But yeah, like I said, let's break down more of the Moria, Gandalf, you shall not pass, the Balrog. Hearing the Balrog for the first time, obviously the goblins have surrounded the Fellowship, and we hear that, and then Gandalf sort of, and it's like, oh my God, what the fuck? The battle just before that, you know, Boromir shut the door, arrows cannot go through, or they have a cave troll. Exploring the Shire with the music, Bilbo's birthday, Gandalf with his fireworks. I've just never fallen in love with something so quickly. You know, people say love at first sight. This is going to be another cringe line for me. I think it was love at first sight with cinema and storytelling with this. I was like, oh my God, I love everything that is involved with this. I love. And the fact that I've done deep dives into the history of Lord of the Rings and the works of Tolkien, and I still don't fully know everything. There's so much shit I still don't know. You know, I'm exploring shit. What's that bit? Oh yeah, that bit. So, oh, I didn't know. Oh my God, that's yeah. Okay, just learning more and more about it all the time. I'm like Rings of Power, for example. I'm loving the Rings of Power shit. I want to see Ungoliant chuck up. I want to see some Morgoth stuff. The Hunt for Gollum might be a film that we're getting soon. I think it's confirmed. I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not though. I think it is. That's a story that I want to explore on the big screen. Tom Bombadil we're about to see on the big, well, not the big screen, on TV. I can't wait for all of it. I'm going to have so much fun and just love it. But being lost in the world of Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, the Nazgul, Weathertop, Bree, this little shithole town and stuff. Oh my God, it's just mad. It literally is magic. I always think that the magic of the Lord of the Rings trilogy won't ever be captured again. That's just me thinking it. I don't know. There has been magic caught in other films, but as a collective free, because I love all the Spider-Man films, for example, but I can understand and admit that, you know, Tobey Maguire's third film's a bit, TASM films, I love them. Yes, we never had a trilogy, but there's one or two rocky bits. The home trilogy of Tom Holland, yeah, again, one or two little kind of rocky bits, but overall I adore them. The Lord of the Rings, I think, and even the stuff that's my least favourite stuff, I all just see it as perfection. And I don't know if it's just my stupid little head just being and loving it and being stubborn to any sort of blemishes. Because if people have got criticisms of The Lord of the Rings, you are absolutely right to do so. If you can find them, you are absolutely... There's a lad at work that I've been obsessing over to watch The Lord of the Rings. And he's tried it and he says he can't really do it. And I should just let it go. I should just be like, you know what? If it's not for you, it's not for you. But something in me just wants him to love it. I don't know if it's because I love him so much. You know, he's a good pal. And I just want him to love this love. But I shouldn't force it. But I feel like I just want to force it on people. And I shouldn't. It's so bad. People should fall in love with it if they want to fall in love with it. But yeah, my love for Lord of the Rings, if we could have humanity chucked into space and aliens to find something, one of the things I want them to find is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Oh, but the Fellowship being peak out of all of them. Up is Across the Spider-Verse. Now, 100% it's my biased tree of spider shenanigans that chuck these forward, but at the same time, I do absolutely adore these films. Now, Across the Spider-Verse is a very, very heavy film for me. I don't know what it is. The Gwen Stacy, self-love, you know, that song, come on. And I remember the first time seeing it, and she's on the train and whatnot, and pictures of Miles and stuff in the background. I just got so overwhelmed and started crying. I don't know why. It's an emotional scene, and I love Gwen and the love that she has for Miles. And obviously she's like, I can't be with Miles, he's a different part of the multiverse and shit. But just fall in love with her and her story, seeing her and how she lost her Peter, you know, being the lizard and all that. It just broke my heart. But the overall story of exploring this singular character that I love of the Spider, no matter who it is. My favourite Spider will always be Peter Parker, 616, the main traditional one. But these other ones that I adore, Miles, fall in love with him, then fall in love with 2099 or Spider-Ham. Just all these different spiders in the same spot is just amazing and beautiful to watch. It's a spider story on an epic proportionate level. The chase sequence I fucking love so much. Miguel telling Miles about how he's not, you know, you're a mistake, you're an accident, you weren't supposed to be a spider, and Miles basically giving him shit, so I'm gonna do my own thing, going off and seeing the heartbreak look between him and Gwen and all that stuff. I love the fact that Miles has now become so massively loved by everybody. Like, he is, for a lot of kids growing up now, he is their main Spider. My girlfriend's got, I don't think is he an actual, my girlfriend's got, there's a little kid that's somehow related and connected to my girlfriend's family, and is it this Adventures of Spider? I don't watch it, an animated kids show, and for him, his main Spidey might be Miles, and I fucking love that is, because Miles is a fantastic character. He's so easy to get behind, he's so easy to root for, and that's why it's so heartbreaking, him trying to be in such denial of these canon events of Peter's and Gwen's and Spider characters having to lose somebody, and him being in such denial of he has to lose his father, it's a canon event, and of him being like, nah, I ain't doing this shit, I'm not going to lose my dad and stuff. And just the emotional attachment that people are going to find with him growing up, and him being such a phenomenal, amazing character is it's just beautiful. And again, it was peak cinema, it was peak storytelling, and it is peak animation. I've seen some beautiful, amazing animations throughout the years, from anime to the older, for example, Dragon Ball Z stuff. That's amazing. To the newer stuff, which I think is so clean and smooth and amazing, to the animation of like Mario and whatnot. But for me, the greatest animated films of all time are Across and Into the Spider-Verse. They just look fantastic. But so my second favorite film, Across the Spider-Verse. Jesus with number one, Into the Spider-Verse. For me, the ultimate spider-telling story of how to balance the life of, well, not Peter Parker in this film, but Miles Morales and his alter ego of the Spider. I've always loved and been so drawn to, for whatever reason, because I can't obviously relate to it. I have the life of Dan, and that's it. But I've always been drawn to the story of this Spider character, whether it be a Gwen or a Miles or a Peter, whoever it may be, and their Spider counterpart, and how to balance both sides of it. And of course, this storyline flows into the second film as well, but seeing the balance of it. But the story of first becoming a spider and how to become your perfect spider, you know, the leap of faith stuff and whatnot. And I should have mentioned it for the second film as well. The music for these films, absolutely fucking phenomenal. So yeah, I should have mentioned that for the last film. But seeing that story of Miles balance everything and being so confused, the spider's died in his universe, now he's been bitten and needs to become a spider, and he's like, how do I do it? But these other spiders have come through and all this weird shit's happening. He's like, what the fuck's going on? There's a multiverse and stuff. The Kingpin in this being a fucking beautiful, amazing villain, the way he kills that world's Peter Parker's just, gee, that's Chris Pine's Peter, in it. Absolutely insane. The Stan Lee stuff, anybody can wear the mask. The story of Spider-Man, what he means, what Spider-Man means to the world and to the people, and oh my god, it's phenomenal. The fact that it feels like we're watching a comic book, but so like it's been scanned through really quick with if Miles is falling, saying and seeing that written down. If music's playing, it's like little vibration waves. The culture of Miles being very much integral to his version of Spider-Man, with the way he looks, the music, the vibe, the sound, the relationship with his uncle, who's of course the Prowler and stuff, the whole family ties. It's just fucking amazing to see this Spider story, for me, the greatest story of all time, alongside Lord of the Rings, being told in literally a perfect way. I genuinely don't think you could redo Into the Spider-Verse. For me, again, personally, you please feel free to disagree, but I don't think you could tell it any better. I think that is the most, for me, perfect film of all time. It is absolutely stupidly brilliant, phenomenal, amazing, gorgeous, heartbreaking, but heartwarming, pump up. I fucking love the leap of faith. What's up? Breaking the glass and shit. Oh my god, I've never been in love with a film as much as I have this film, and as well as the Lord of the Rings and shit, to be fair, and the second film, and all of these films on this list. I just love films and storytelling. I've got such a weird, I don't know if it's weird, disconnect of being out of reality, of working a job, paying bills, and this normal shit. I just want to break it away and lose myself in the world of stories, and when they're done like this and they're involving people that I love so much, it just makes it even better. Like, you can always argue that I'm too easily pleased, or I'm just, or whatever, it's Marvel, so you love it. If you say them accusations, I can see why you'd say them, but like for the Transformers, I always go back to these. A lot of people had criticisms for them, saying, it's this, and it's a bit dumb, and that's why would they do that. Whereas I'm just lost watching the Decepticons and Autobots kick the shit out of each other, and I'm so happy. That's all I'm there for. Whatever else you want to chuck at it, go for it. And then, yeah, again, artsy-dartsy, lovey sort of film. Like a Longlegs recently, that was very just story-driven. Absolutely beautiful and phenomenal, on point. But I just love cinema, and when it's done like this about people I love, I just love it even more. It's like a great escape from my brain, because I've said it before, growing up seems boring, and I just love being, whether it be a Spider story or a fucking Titanic, or we're in the Lord of the Rings, or we're in the world of Fallout, or whatever it may be. I just love it so much. But yes, my favourite film of all time, Into the Spider-Verse. But yes, that's my favourite films of all time. Like I said, most like Scream, because I know Lord of the Rings is obviously highly rated, the Spider-Verse stuff's highly rated, Guardians is quite up there. I don't know actually where Pokemon's the first movie is actually rated. I've never looked at its IMDb score out like that. I'll have to check it out. I don't think Scream's massively up there. I don't think American Pie's... I mean, I think they're up there, but I don't think they're... like IMDb's top hundreds list. No, they're definitely not. But yes, that's my favourite films of all time. Not the best films of all time, you know, culturally and shit, but for me personally, for whatever individual reason it may be. And that was probably a very long, ranty, rambly video. Anybody that made it to the end, I'm sorry. I know some of them I would have just rambled and made fucking just weird random points. It's quite hard to explain my love for certain stuff. I would quite love for people, and I'm sure other people feel this way, just to get inside my head and just get a better understanding. I feel like it'd be so easy for other people. We just quickly go in their heads and have an understanding of shit. Please, visuals, I want to know your favourite films in the comments below. I definitely want to know what your easy watches, because there's still so many films out there that I've not mentioned that are easy. Like, I love the Goon films. I could go back and watch them constantly. I love them. Jaws, my bird overwatches Jaws, but Jaws is a fucking... peak film. Saving Private Ryan, I adore that. Interstellar. I didn't mention anything from the Dark Knight trilogy. There's so many films out there that I adore and love so fucking much. That's why it was a nightmare of a list to make, but I really had to sit down and think about how things made me feel inside the most. But hey, up there we go. But anyway, visuals, my 10 favourite films of all time. Come next year, and I can't see my top 5 changing, but maybe some of the other ones would have changed. But there we go, that was Superhero Wednesday, and thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end. Visuals, you guys are literally the fucking best. We'll always keep being you, and keep on web slinging on.